Okay. And I am live. Hello everyone, welcome to World E-Racing League. Season 3, Round 2, here at Austria. Bit earlier in the season to have Austria than last season, and hopefully a little bit more energy from me. Joining me in the commentary box tonight for the first time this season is Kyle. How are you feeling for tonight, Kyle?
I'm very excited. Thanks very much for having me back. It's been a while since the last season. I think I was there for the finale, wasn't I? So
Yes.
that was a lot of fun. But yeah, unfortunately couldn't make it last week, but I got to watch along, and how exciting that race was. Won by, of course, my namesake, a brand new Kyle. So that's quite fun to watch, and it's going to be quite difficult actually saying my own name in commentary. I mentioned this in chat last week. That's going to be quite weird for me to do, but. It should be another fun race, I hope.
Yeah, definitely. And if we're on that topic, on a on a Sunday, I do another league, and there is a guy in there called Stayed Daisy, and the Stayed bit is spelled the exact same way as how Stayed Body is. So I basically have to say like part of my own name. It's really weird. I've never seen anybody with Stayed in their gamer tag. Really, really weird coincidence.
Yeah, very odd. What does that actually mean? I actually don't have any idea.
Stead literally just means like sturdy. It's literally just like
Ah,
another word for like sturdy, I believe. Let me just double check that.
it's
Yeah.
funny. For as long as I've known
Sed-
you, I don't know why I've never asked you that.
sedate, respectable, and unadventurous, apparently, what state means.
Ah, I mean, you're quite adventurous, so it's probably not a fitting name for you.
It
Maybe
was
it is a fitting name for the other state, though.
given to me by Xbox 360 back in 2011, and it just kind of stuck because it was original. No one else was going to have a name like that. You know, if you saw that name, you knew it was me immediately. So I ended up just keeping it. I've had this name for 15 years now, I think, something like that.
I remember my first gamer tag. It was Bayesian Bruiser, LDN. Obviously, LDN being London, but Bruiser was spelt with it was a one and a two for an R, a one for an I, and a three for an E.
Ah.
So that's how long ago since I've done that. But I don't know if you've noticed yet, but I'm seeing rain on the circuit.
Yes, I was literally just about to raise that point, as that actually makes it a little bit more important to go on board then with MUFC Joe, because this is going to be the only dry laps they'll get in this session, because it's chucking it down pretty hard. So laps with DRS are going to be much faster than others. Here we go, on board with Joe. Let's rate the grip into turn one. Gets in pretty nicely down to third gear. Little slide on exit, but nothing too dramatic. It's now up to the first sector split, of course. Only the one proper braking zone in Sector 1. A 16.6, that's not too bad. I believe it's only probably about 6 or 7 tenths off of the pace of what you'd ordinarily expect in wet conditions. So it's slow if this were dry conditions, but of course, this is not dry conditions. That's not a bad first sector. It's now DRS disabled, there we are, that's what I mean. So it's now switching to intermediate conditions then, ladies and gentlemen. As now into the second sector, you can see there's a lot less grip on those soft tyres for Joe. And actually, I mean, if you look at the track already, you may well get a faster lap out of those intermediates purely because you're going to have better grip in that middle sector now. If DRS is disabled, then that is your cue to go in for some intermediate tyres. Joe is going to stick it out on these soft tyres. And I mean, it's not exactly been a very good lap. I've got to say, he's going to be into the 1 minute 13s, surely up to the line. It's going to be a 1:14.1. So that is your cue to bail in for intermediates, because you're not getting any good lap times. As Entox sliding across the line. The two Red Bulls just couldn't put the lap in. And
Ooh.
Kev with a 17.0, Entox with a 17.6. And I think if you've started on those inters, you will have had a huge advantage, but no one has done so.
Apologies about that. I brand new microphone, as you well know, and I
Yeah.
having to mute myself in between commentary, and I forgot to unmute, which is why I completely ignored you a minute ago. But I was saying that I believe it was Gabriel, Regan, and Chenky were on outlaps when that rain started coming down, and there was no way on earth that they were going to get around and get a good lap in. So it remains to be seen whether Joe's time, as Gabriel was the first person that would have crossed the line, but he bailed. So it remains to see if Joe's time is going to be faster than intermediate times.
I think inters, if they get out and quickly and now, will still be quicker. I believe an intermediate time when it first switches is about a 1:10, 1:11. So I think probably the Inters can find a little bit more pace on these laps if they get out a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we'll find out from Gabriel, who's the first person to come out on the Inters. So it won't be too long till we find out. I mean, this reminds me of a league that I race in, that you commentate on as well, where this happened. It was Belgium, and I accidentally switched to intermediate tyres. I was going to come out on softs, so the same thing happened, and I would have been the only person on the Inters on a semi-slick track, and I more or less had a nailed on pole position until I got held up by somebody trying to do a soft tyre run. And yeah, I couldn't believe it. My luck couldn't have been any worse that day. But Joe's obviously retired and hoping that that lap is going to be the one.
Yeah, and as I've said to you many times, you can just say APC or Almost Pro Championship. We are partnered, so there's no harm in that. But yeah, that was a very, very interesting race at Belgium. As you say, you lost that nailed on pole position because of, ironically, an Aston Martin, which is what we're riding on board with right now. This is the lap we need to watch because it's Gabriel on those intermediates, and it's going to be a very, very good gauge of sort of what the pace difference between the softs and the inters is, as a 17.8 in the first sector, so a lot slower than, of course, Joe's first sector, but the thing is, he's going to have much more grip and much more pace in that middle sector than Joe did, of course, because he's on the better tyres. He's going to have more grip. It's going to be less slidey for him. His back end will have a lot more responsiveness, I suppose. He's now into this middle sector bit. Braking downhill, of course, downhill braking zone. And is it going to be... It's a 51.6, I believe. Is that faster? I think it is.
I think it's a 48, 47 about what I'm looking at here. I'm not sure it actually is. I mean, one thing to consider is that Joe did have DRS in the first sector. I believe the DRS disabled after he went through the first sector, so he'd be massively ahead with that, and he's coming across the line now.
14.9, so not too far off. I mean, if he'd have probably come out a minute or two earlier on those inters, he would have probably been on pole just about. But I think that the conditions now are probably too bad for anyone to go faster than that 14.1. It's really, really thrown it down the last sort of 8 minutes, isn't it? I mean, you can see the track started out completely dry, and it just started throwing it down immediately. It wasn't even like the rain slowly crept in. It was just immediate, like an immediate downpour. And that has obviously wet the track up, and it's now just sort of a fight for second and below.
Yeah, it looks like the third sector was amazing, which is what's got him so close there. But that does translate when you consider that the rain really started to come down when Joe got into the third sector. But I think Joe may well have done enough here. As you say, getting out in time, if they'd done what I'd done in Belgium and accidentally switched back to wets when the pop-up tells you you're on the wrong tyre, Gabriel may well have done it. But interesting to see what Kev is going to do on these full wets. I don't think that this is really full wet conditions, but worth a go, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not going to be full wet conditions. 100% it's not. I mean, the rain is not extreme enough for it to be full wet. I mean, they're not exactly a tyre you see all that much in the F1 game. I think on F1 25 I have commentated 4 races where the full wets have been used, and one of them was because the weather was set so that it was a full quali, and it started out as full wet and went to full dry by the end of Q3. So I mean, it's a weird selection. Like it's going to be slower. It's probably only going to be about a 1:19 most likely.
Yeah. I mean, Kev obviously didn't feel confident enough on the inters. I'm not really sure why. Kev does seem to have a lot of pace from what I saw last week. So interesting idea, but he's starting his lap now, so worth a go to see what he's going to do. Will he get ahead of Gabriel? I actually completely missed that Chenky on the inters has got into second place, but even the almighty Chenkovan can't get anywhere close to Joe's soft time. So I think Joe got really lucky there, and Gabriel was probably hitting himself, wondering why he didn't finish his lap on the softs.
Yeah, I think the reason that Gabriel didn't finish his lap on the soft tyres was because, of course, as you say, when the rain hit, he was on outlaps, whereas Joe was just starting his flying lap, so a lot further behind than Joe was, so it wouldn't have been faster at all. I mean, you look at Entok's time currently and Kev's as well, a 17.0 and a 17.6, and they were about 20 seconds behind Joe. That's how quickly it got wet. So a matter of what, 3 seconds nearly, for a 20-second gap. So I mean, it's, yeah, the rain fell really, really hard, and that's probably why Gabriel didn't go for another lap, because of course how hard the rain fell.
Yeah, you're right. I actually just pulled the stream back, and that was my bad. I thought Gabriel was the lead car, the first car that was on the soft tyres, but no, it was about to start a lap, not finish the lap. So, absolutely right there. Would have been absolutely pointless and a waste of everyone's time, and even potential for a crash. So, absolutely right thing to do for Gabriel. But yeah, I think everybody will be hitting themselves not going out straight away.
Chenkovan is a 10th up. By the way, Kyle Catterson put in a 14.2. That is getting quite close now for the two at the front. What about Andrea Chenkovan now? Oh, sorry, Chenky. It's not Andrea Chenkovan in this league, is it? That's Natural Habit, you could say, is up to the line. Is he going to beat it? No, he gets close though. A 1:14, 2:42. Just over half a tenth off of Joe's time. So very, very close. And you do wonder if either of these two drivers, as they get used to the conditions, can beat that lap time from Joe. And do you think that retiring early in the session is going to cost him?
It's very possible. I mean, just going back to the Chenky thing, I think Chenky's the only person that you probably commentate on in more than one championship, so fully understandable. But look, if Kyle, Chenky, they're thereabouts. It's very possible that they could put in that absolute gem of a lap that will get him ahead of Joe. But Joe obviously felt that he wouldn't go any faster on the intermediate, so he kind of felt that it's probably not worth having another go. But I mean, it's hard to say whether it's a good idea. I mean, I would always have a go. It's always good to get used to the conditions. It may even rain in the race, so it'd be quite nice to get used to those wet conditions. But yeah, Joe obviously felt that that was it. That was the best he could do. And at 6.5 minutes time, we'll find out whether that was the right choice. I mean, if I was to predict, I think he might just about get away with it.
Yeah, well, all Chenky and Kyle Catterson need is, well, Chenky needs 800th of a second. Kyle Catterson needs just over a tenth, so very fine margins. And I mean, if I had to guess where the time probably is, it's probably in that middle sector. I mean, Chenky now on another lap. We'll see as he gets used to the conditions. Is he going to be able to get any closer to it? As now he is 400ths of a second up, so getting closer to that time from Joe. And you do wonder, can he find a little bit more to go on to pole position as he now approaches turn 5 on the lap?
Having a look at this now, just going through the sectors, Joe was faster in the middle sector. So Joe did a 32.9. Chenky is 33.4 and Kyle is a 33.5. So Joe really got lucky with the conditions there. So I'm not really sure. I think it's the third sector where they're making up the time. So can Chenky eke out a little bit more?
Well, Andrea Chenkovan, 800ths of a second up, or Chenky,
sorry. No.
800.079 up in the middle sector. As now round the final corner he goes. It's going to be marginal. Is it going to be provisional pole? Not quite. He loses a little bit in the final sector, and the gap is now down to only less than 300ths of a second. Could he get any closer?
Oh, you know what? I might have spoke too soon. I think Chenky might do it here. Chenky's doing everything he needs to do. He's just going lap after lap after lap, getting used to the conditions, getting used to the tyre, and just giving it everything he can. So another 4.5 minutes could put a fresh set on. Of course, intermediates, you don't really have to keep them fresh. They tend to last quite a while, but may feel like putting a fresh set on and going again at the end of the session that hopefully the conditions might be better. The rain might stop, but it's not looking likely. So Chenky just needs to just find out where he's missing that time and just eke out that last 300ths.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only 300ths of a second. He lost 400ths. Oh, sorry, no. He lost 0.33 of a set. Sorry, 0.033 of a second in that final sector. So if you work out, it would have been provisional pole by about 5 thousandths of a second. That is how fine those margins are out there at the moment. As don't count Kyle Catterson out, of course. He's not been out for another lap in this session, so I mean, don't count him out yet in this session. And now Regan, by the way, has just stuck in a 1:14.8 to go up to 4th place in the session. Now on board with Kev, who was on a lap but has invalidated that, unfortunately. Rob not pushing. What about Shadow Tobes? Not yet set a lap in this session, 51.4 in the middle sector, I believe. There's about a second down on the likes of Chenky towards the front, so that would put him in the ballpark of Owen CFC in 6th place. As now around the penultimate corner towards the final one he comes, keeping it nice and clean. Just get a valid lap in. At this point in the session, he needs one. Is up to the line, 14.787, up to 4th place. So a decent lap time there.
Yeah, Shadow's clearly been really giving it everything from the first lap. Had 3 invalidated laps up till now, but then putting a lap which is in within half a second of a car ahead, and well, what 6 tenths off pole. So very much a possible a pole contender. Apologies, I forgot to speak for a minute there. And Raccoons also got in there, so they left it very much to the end of the session. But there they are, both in the top 5.
Yeah, and now the 2 that could get pole position here are, of course, Chenky and Kyle Catterson. Both now out on the track on their outlaps with 2 minutes 10 seconds to go in this session. As now, is there anybody pushing on laps? Rob, a 10th of a second up, but that 10th, unfortunately, at the moment is going to be futile because, well, he is 9 tenths down on Crancy. The car ahead of him as he drops another position, as I believe that was... Who was that? That was... I actually don't know who just put the lap in. I didn't see, but someone put a lap in to go ahead of Rob. I think it was... Was it Gabriel?
I'm seeing a Merc across the line, so I'm going to assume it's Owen. Oh, this is a start.
It was Kevin P5.
Kevin, right? Yeah, Kevin. I thought
Oh,
it
yeah.
was him, but I couldn't tell. My brain was having a mini meltdown there. As now on board with Kyle Catterson. Now
What a good
coming out
name.
for his 2nd lap of the session. Quite an important one, of course, because he's in that fight for pole position. I mean, the track looking pretty decent for intermediates at the moment. It's going to be marginal, as there was a big lag spike there. That was on my end. Oh, no, it wasn't on my end then. As Kyle Catterson is a second down, so he is just on a reconnaissance lap here then. What about Andrea Chenkovan? Or Chenky, sorry. That is just, it's just natural force of habit at this point.
Just quickly, Kyle's backed out, and I don't think Kyle's really got much time to get back to the line here. It's going to be very tight if he's going to get another lap in.
Yeah, he's going pretty slowly. As I can't, because he's going slowly. 30 seconds. He should have enough.
It's going to be tight. I don't know if he realised how tight the time was, but I think that's going to be very tight on the line. I personally don't think he's going to make it.
He might not, you know, actually, now that you look at it, yeah. I think he will just.
Like, this will definitely be Chenky's last lap for sure.
Yes, definitely.
He's not making it. Kyle's definitely not making it.
No, definitely not. So he's out of the fight for pole position. What about Chenky? As he found the time he needs, as he's 8 tenths up, finding it at the last. So he's answered our calls and is finding big time in that final sector. That is Kyle Catterson. For crossing the line, he's not going to go for provisional pole. What about Chenky? Just keep it valid, and the pole position is yours. Round the final corner, up to the line, track improving dramatically. A 1:12.
Look for Raccoon.
4-0. Alexis Raccoon with a 13-0, half a second off. Gabrielle with a 13-4. Track improved rapidly in that final couple of minutes there. As now Owen can see the last driver to come across the line. And I think he's actually in the ballpark of Gabrielle at the moment. With that time, he's doing is he invalidated it. Unfortunately, what would it have been up to the line? Would have been like a 12-9, I think.
The rain didn't look like it eased up, so I don't know where that track improvement come from. But I mean, as fast as Chenky and Raccoons are, that was clearly some track improvement there, because the times were just suddenly 2 seconds faster.
Definitely. So Chenky on pole, By half second from Raccoons, Gabriel in third, MUFC Joe in the end not disastrous in fourth on those soft tyres. K Catterson fifth after not being able to get a final lap in, and then it's Kev, Shadow Tobes, Regan, Owen CFC, Crancy, Rob, and then Entok, who did not get another lap in after that soft tyre run. As now here we go into the main race. Predictions then, Kyle.
Well, it would be silly to, not consider one of the top two, Chenky and Carl there. Well, actually, Carl's not actually in the top, is he? But
No, he's fourth.
obviously, last week's winner. So I think between the two, I am between the two. I've seen Kyle's pace. You know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna say that my namesake Kyle. He's gonna fight his way through and come through for the win.
I'm going to be boring and I'm going to back Chenky. I'm going to back Andrea Chenkovan, as I have so many times in
He's gone
APC
safe
this season.
Yeah, there's no harm in playing it safe. Chenky's got amazing pace. Chenky's actually on, I believe, for winning the APC season at the next race potentially.
Yes,
So,
I believe so.
joins Stuart as a 3 consecutive time champion of that league. So, clearly got the pace. So I don't think it's a bad bet to take in this race, especially starting on pole position and the conditions are dry. So, yeah, I think it could be either. I mean, someone could throw up a surprise. We've got Joe obviously. Yes, got that soft time in, but I'd be very happy with that starting position. And I can't even remember the top. There we go. Gabriel and Rekins, they're there. They're there on the medium tires. They well could do it as well.
Here we go then. 5 red lights. And we're racing here in Austria. It's a decent start from Chenky off the line. It's not a good start from Raccoons, who bogs down massively, drops down to third place. There's a free wide into turn 1 for 4th to 6th. And there's an Aston Martin spinning round of Joe down to last place. So after a decent performance on those soft tyres, dropping all the way down to last is now Regan and Kev side by side into turn 3. The Mercedes and the Williams side by side as well. And then Kev also getting involved and getting past there as now coming towards the third sector of the lap. What's going to happen is now Gabrielle and Raccoons side by side towards turn 7 now. Gabrielle has to back out of that one. It's not really a corner that allows for much racing. MUFC Joe at the back getting past Rob as there's contact and they both go round there, I think. Yes, they did go round, and Entok takes the positions back. So a scrappy start to this one.
Yeah, 3 wide into turn 1 is never, ever a good idea, especially at Austria. It's quite a tight corner, so I think it was a couple of racing balls and obviously MUFC Joe who was celebrating that for 4th position in quali, so I'd be very, very upset about that one. But all kind of evened out a bit now. Chenky's already dropped Raccoons out of the RS, which is, helping your prediction for sure. But yeah, this race is definitely over. Everyone's getting a bit feisty, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing some overtakes.
Yeah, as Chenky is flying away from Raccoons at the moment, it's very marginal. But he is just about out of Raccoons' DRS now. Looking at tyres then. It's the top 3 all on mediums then. Kyle and Regan both on hards. Kev has gone for the softs, which is interesting then. It's Owen, CFC, Crancy on the mediums, Tobes on the hards, Joe on the mediums, and then Entok and Rob both on the hards as well. So all 3 tyre compounds represented here as Owen getting past the only soft tyre runner on the grid, Kev.
Only soft runner, also one of only 4 people who drop positions on the opening lap. So Kev would have been hoping for them softs to really help himself vault up the order quite early on and then hold position. So he'll be very disappointed with that. The biggest winner there, well, winners, should I say, Regang and Owen CFC both have gone up 3 positions. And Kyle and Regang on those hard tyres are holding on to Gabriel. So they'll be very, very pleased with that.
Yeah, of course, the hard tyres will come to the fore a little bit later in this race, of course. This is currently the medium tyres, time to shine early in the race, but with high fuel and high degradation, they won't last too long, as that is Kyle Casson and Gabriel side by side. Kyle is going to get past there and up to 3rd place, so now can chase after Raccoons now, who is sat 4 tenths behind. So those hard tyres may be already starting to work, or his pace is just that much better at the moment. But of course, once he gets past Raccoons, he has a 2.3 second gap to contend with to get to Chenky just in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, this pace on the hards is quite something. This is a masterclass, should we say? And it looks like Raccoon's made that extremely easy. Clearly thinking that car was much faster, so makes much more sense just to stay with him and hold on to the DRS if he's able to do so. So Kyle now up 3 positions into P2 on hard tyres. And at the moment, looks like he may well be faster than Chenky, or they're very similar on time. But once those mediums fall off, expect Kyle to come through and run away a little bit.
Yeah, and I know Raccoons as a driver very, very well, so I can tell you exactly what they were doing there, and that was DRS games. Raccoons has tried to do that to me many times before, and it has never worked. So that's what Raccoons was trying, and, well, Kyle Katzen's pace was just that much better, and it being Austria, a circuit where you always run low downforce, it just sort of balanced itself out. Kyle had a decent amount of ERS. As I say that, he goes round on the half spin and drops down to 5th place, and it's just going to park it. He's beached. He's beached. He's got his car beached on the curb. Can he get it off? Yes, he does. Just about. But that, well, if that's not commentator's curse, I don't know what is.
That's very unfortunate. There goes my prediction. Well, I mean, I'm not going to throw that prediction in the bin just yet. Kyle has got some pace, but I think, and I could be wrong here, I think Kyle was just making sure he didn't do a dangerous rejoin. That's what it looked like. Look, he was just holding on just to make sure everyone came through cleanly, but that is extremely unfortunate. He was looking very fast. He was hunting down Chenky after that overtaken Raccoons. Well, got let past them Raccoons, but I feel like Raccoons and Gabriel will probably feeling a little bit disheartened before that spin, having been overtaken so easily by somebody on the hard tyres. But they've now both got another go at staying on the podium.
Yeah, and that does now promote Regan to the lead hard tyre runner. And I mean, he's actually not substantially far behind Gabriel, who is in 3rd place. He's only about 1.2 back at the moment. So clearly he's got some pace here as well. And in about 3-4 laps time, when those hard tyres start to become the better tyre, he will most likely have a lot of pace and a big role in this race, I suppose, is the best way to put it. I was trying to think of how to say it, but I couldn't for a second. But we haven't seen much of Chenky in this race so far. He's been far ahead and just sort of chilling. He's got in a good position. He's got a 3-second gap now to the back of Raccoon, so he has a good gap that he can just sort of manage his tyres, manage the race, and if he wants to, he can just pace match Raccoons, take care of those tyres a little bit better, because it is quite clear at the moment that he is the faster car, as Kev peels into the pits for some more hard tyres.
Yeah, Kev finally deciding that he's had enough of those softs. He was dropping down the order rapidly, so that experiment definitely has not paid off, and he's now right at the back, even behind Kyle, who's had a spin. So unfortunate for Kev. Kev usually has quite a bit of pace, so that is, especially from what I saw last week. So definitely unfortunate. I was actually going to say before that pit stop that he's probably feeling like, I don't want to sound harsh, but a bit of a fool for putting those soft tyres on. But that's just as Regang gets a 3-second penalty. And I was just about to say how good Regang's doing. Like, the pace Regang has for the hard tyres at the moment is very strong. And I can see him potentially taking the lead, or going into at least 2nd before the pit stop phase. But that 3-second penalty definitely isn't going to help at the end of the race.
Definitely not. 3-second penalties are never ideal in the best of scenarios, let alone when you're chasing a podium. So moving towards this battle between Gabriel and Raccoons, it's sort of flatlined for a few laps. It feels more like, you know, Gabriel's just happy to follow behind at the moment, or it could either be a case of he can't get close enough. You know, it could well be that he is running higher wings, because I have seen people run much higher wings around here than others do. I mean, it happened to me in a league race once upon a time. I was running like 28 wings round here, and then everyone else was running like 10, 12 or something. So, I mean, some people do choose to run higher wings because it does give you so much pace in the middle sector. but it hurts you, of course, on the straight. And that could be what Gabriel is experiencing here.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks where you can really actually have such different, so such contrasting strategies when it comes to your setup, because it's got such a high speed, and open corners in the first and third sector, but then a very technical, twisty second sector. So you can either choose to go very high speed, very low downforce, and then people can't come past you. It's like, I don't know what I'm saying. Sorry, very low downforce, so people can't come past you on the straights, but then have or go for the high wing setup, where you're slow on the straights but are very quick in the second sector. And then you'll find that those people converge during the race. And looking at this, it's very possible that's what's happening. Gabriel is very, very close in the second sector, but has absolutely no way past in the first and third. I did the similar strategy in Azerbaijan in the race I did there. It's a very similar setup there. Very fast, high speed first and third sector, but then a very, very high downforce rewarding middle sector. So it's very much could be what's happening. But also, Gabriel might just be holding on, saving the tyres. The thing about Austria is it has 3 DRS zones. So you can use those DRS zones just to turn your battery off, recharge, and keep the battery high, and then surprise the person later.
Yeah, and I mean, I did a race at Azerbaijan literally last night, and I can tell you I ran 4 free wings, and that was a big snap of oversteer there for Raccoons. We'll come back to that topic in just a sec. Is Gabriel going to get close enough to make a move here? No, he's just not got the straight line speed needed to make it work. But as Raccoons goes really wide, which is going to open up the opportunity on the outside for Gabriel. Does Raccoons give this one up? No, he's going to fight it to the death on the inside and will get that move done, but runs out wide. Is Gabriel going to get the switch back? He's not quite close enough to make that work. So that is Raccoons staying in front just about, and that helps Regan because, of course, on those hard tyres, he will have the better tyres pretty soon. I think we're knocking on the door of the crossover point, and that is only going to help him even more because he is now in DRS on Gabriel, and Raccoons peels into the pit lane for a new set of hards. And to me, that if you pit around this lap, then you commit yourself to a 2-stop strategy nailed on.
Yeah, Regan actually got a warning on that last corner there. He obviously got very, very close to Gabriel and thought, yeah, give it everything, but the dirty air threw him wide, and he got a warning. So he needs to be very careful because he doesn't want to get 6 seconds. He's very much on for a possible podium here. But as you say, that is a stop there for Regan's. I completely forgot his name. And yeah, very much, I think he's gone onto the mediums here. There's no way the mediums are going to go to the end. And if he does, he's going to need to nurse them stupidly hard, and it's probably not going to be worth it at all. So, yeah, I think nailed on 2-stop for Raccoons there. But the likes of Gabriel continuing, so very possibly on for trying to go for the 1-stop. Regang, I'd say, very much definitely on for the 1-stop. Get to see what Chenky does.
Yeah, Raccoons is guaranteed to be on that 2-stop because they have gone on to another set of
yes,
tires.
ignore me. Yeah, you're right.
Guaranteed to be on that 2-stop, so it's going to be a medium hard strategy.
And Gabriel has responded, so I don't know what the tyres are going to go on to just yet, but he's definitely responded.
Hard tyres, that's what I would do. Get your hard stint out of the way to be faster in the final stint. Of course, the less fuel you have, the lower the tyre wear will be. So a final stint on those mediums will be more rewarding to you because, of course, the drop-off versus the hards will not quite be as substantial as it would be at the start or in the middle of the race.
And Gabriel's got himself out into a fantastic gap here. That was well timed, very well timed. I don't know if Gabriel works with an engineer, but that was bang on. So I guess now it's yet to see whether Chenky is going to respond to the threat from behind or hold it out for a 1-stop. We've seen Chenky do a 1-stop before. We remember what happened in Imola in the previous season. So might not be for the best idea, but it may also pay off. So I'm excited to see what Chenky does here.
As you say that, peels into the pit lane. So I think no matter what he does, he is on a 2-stop. I don't see hard going 25 laps. So I think it's going to be a nailed on 2-stop personally. And Regan is going to stay out on track. Probably, if he's doing a 2-stop, probably to about lap 14, 15. If he's doing a 1-stop, then he'll need to make those go to at least lap 20.
Yeah. This game's throwing up all sorts of different strategies here as Chenky's come out right behind Entok. So that was unfortunate. He didn't pull out Gabriel and come out in a an amazing big gap, but he'd hope to make light work as they're both just approaching. Which Williams is that? Shadow, who's had a spin at 10-3.
Very
10-4.
unfortunate there, as that is Chenky getting past Entok. I didn't think Entok would make it too hard for him, considering the tyre age difference there. As now moving a little bit further back, Owen CFC and Rob absolutely going tooth and nail for it at the moment. Of course, Rob on those older hards versus Owen on 8-lap newer tyres than him, but Rob is not going to make it easy for him, but runs out wide unfortunately, and Owen does just swoop on into the inside and take that place away from the McLaren. As now that is MUFC Joe picking up a 3-second penalty. He's had a quiet race since the start of this one so far. By the way, Kay Catterson has stayed out 13 laps so far and is only 6 seconds behind Regang. So he's what? Would you say he's in the hunt for a podium here?
I think so, which is remarkable when you consider the fact he fell right to the very, very back of the grid. So I'd say, but the two of them are probably fighting for P3 along with Gabriel and who else in that battle? Raccoons. So I can see the four of them really find it out when the two strategies converge.
Yeah, Raccoon's getting past Shadow Toves there. A little bit of contact between the two in the braking zone for turn 5. But Raccoon's on those much newer tyres was just able to swoop on by, as now Regan does come into the pits. Does Kyle Catterton follow suit? Yes, he does. So that is the two hard tyre runners on to, what is it going to be? Probably mediums? Yes. New mediums, and Kay Catterton will follow in. Will he go on to medium tyres as well? As no, it's going to be another set of hard. So he's going hard, medium. Then in this race, or maybe even hard, soft.
There are so many strategies at play here. It's amazing. Like, we actually cannot predict. I mean, other than potentially Chenky winning, outside of that, I think we cannot predict how this race is going to end. So many people doing so many different things. Clearly, we've got some different setups. We've got some different tire strategies. This is going to be a great one right to the very end.
Yeah, it definitely will be, as Gabriel and Shadow Toves going side by side. Rob has retired from the session on track. He's retired it just on the track, so I'm not sure what's going to happen about that, but we will see post-race. As now Regan and Owen side by side. Regan on those newer tyres than Owen. Is he going to be able to make the move stick? Can we get a good camera angle, please? There's contact, and Regan does just about come out ahead, but that battle was rather spoiled by bloody wing cam from the game.
Yeah, that always happens. I mean, it takes it back to the last game where the starts would always be ruined by, by the camera angles. You couldn't actually see the starts. But Riga actually got another penalty. I don't think it popped up, but he got another penalty on that by going wide again during that battle. So that's unfortunate. That's another 3 seconds. So that could come to bite him towards the end. There's this a big battle happening here for P7.
Yeah, now Owen, Crancy just sat behind this battle between Owen CFC and MUFC Joe. It's getting a little bit heated in this mid-pack on board with the Mercedes. Is he going to get close enough to get past Joe? Joe defends pretty nicely, sticking to the middle of the track, so forcing Owen into a decision. He chose the outside, but there just wasn't quite enough space to work with there on that turn 4. But now, turn 5. Now, moving away from that battle for just a sec, checking in with our race leader again. We haven't seen him since about lap 6, I don't think. He is just 7 seconds clear of Raccoons on hard tyres, although Raccoons is on medium tyres. He's on 2 lap older tyres than the Ferrari, so, well, Chenky in a primed position to win this race as long as there are no mistakes, as Kay Catterson, showing his pace, gets taking fastest lap over the race there.
Yeah, I think we'd be very careful what we say. I remember saying this at Imola. I should probably stop going back to Imola. He's going to kill me if it ends up jinxing him later. But yeah, I think it'd be very silly to say he's 100% going to win this, but not completely crazy to say that. So yeah, looking forward to see how this one pans out. It's nice to actually see that Chinky is still in the race, just out there miles ahead of everyone else. But a lot of good pace from people behind. I'm surprised to see that Raccoons isn't faster than Chenky at this stage. On the 6-lap-old mediums compared to 4-lap-old hards, you'd expect Raccoons to at least be closing in a little bit. It just goes to show that pace that Chenky's got. So I think, yeah, the youngest tyres we've got on the grid at the moment, we've got Regang with 2-lap-old mediums, Kyle, still weird saying my own name, with 2-lap-old hards, and then Shadow Tobbs and Entok, who aren't showing great pace today, unfortunately. They are on brand new mediums, so it'll be good to see if they do anything with those, but I think they're just struggling a little bit today.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you're saying about Chenky versus Raccoons on pace at the moment, I think hards around this circuit are the better tyre. I think mediums are absolutely appalling here. I don't know what you thought in the race, APC races. Now, Crancy and Kay Catterson going side by side there. Kay Catterson coming out on top in that one. So up to 7th place is the RB and is, well, right in the DRS of both 6th and 5th place here. So on a decent recovery here so far. And then is only 2.8 behind Regan, who, of course, on those medium tyres, will have a little bit of a drop-off in pace compared to him. So, I mean, it's not completely off for Kay Catterson in this race to take a 2nd place. He's, what, a matter of about 8 seconds off it? With half the race to go, I wouldn't rule him out yet for a good result.
Yeah, I think without a safety car, win is probably off the cards for Kyle. He's got a similar pace to Chenky, but you know, the gap's too large. But for sure, 3rd, 2nd, definitely on the cards. And I'd be surprised if you don't see him on the podium. But of course, can't rule out another spin as he just easily flies past Owen CFC. That was far too easy. So now he's going to be pushing to get into the DRS of MUFC Joe, who would be very very upset about how his pace has been today. You know, he had a very good starting position, almost got the pole if it wasn't for that drying track. But it's falling down the order now. I'd be very disappointed with that, but you know, still possibility of a good position here.
Yeah, I think that spin on the first lap definitely didn't help his race at all, because of course he dropped down to last place, similar to what happened to Kay Catterson, who is now sat right behind him. You can see the pace benefit of those tyres. 3-lap tyre difference is not an insignificant amount, especially in F1 25, where the tyre wear is so much more significant than it was on its predecessor F1 24. As now on to the main straight, Kay Catterson is going to get close. He sees MUFC Joe's DRS games, does not fall for it. So here we go towards turn 3 now. Is he going to go for it? DRS deploying, ERS used, and he's just going to breeze on past there. But is MUFC Joe going to get the opportunity to fight back towards turn 4? As now, no, you can see just the traction difference between Kay Catterson and MUFC Joe at the moment. It was a solid 2.5 tenths on exit there, and he's 3.5 seconds now behind the Ferrari of Regan. Do you reckon he can catch that before Regan has to come in for another set of tyres?
Oh yeah, 100%. I was gonna say I want to know Carl's wings, because similar to what we were saying earlier about what I did and both of us did at Azerbaijan, it just absolutely just disappeared down the straights. As soon as he got the exit, he just breezed past. It was, I mean, Joe would have been looking at that going, what the hell? Like, I could see Joe put his battery off because he'd obviously realised that he wasn't going to hold him back, so he might as well charge instead. But it was, on both Joe and Crancy, it was just so easy. So I imagine a very low rear wing for Kyle, and he's like the pace he's got on Regang now. He is hunting him down fast. I think he'll be there in probably lap 22, I think.
He's just gained 4 tenths on exit on MUFC Joe. I was watching down the straight, and Joe only gained 2 tenths with DRS. There is definitely some lower wings at play here for Kay Catterson. I mean, only gaining 2 tenths with DRS down the second straight on Austria is pretty crazy. So I think K. Catterson definitely running lower wings, and probably Joe is running slightly higher wings, is what I would theorise, as now the RB is only 1.5 seconds off of the back of Regan. Can he get in this lap? I mean, he has the advantage that the Ferrari is not in DRS on the battle ahead of him, which is, of course, Gabriel and Raccoons for second place. But remember that these two are fighting for the only position, probably, pending no drama, that they can get, as now Gabriel down the inside on Raccoons. There's a little bit of contact, maybe like the slightest of rubs. Raccoons gets the better exit, better traction, but Gabriel has the DRS, as now he's going to peel to the outside line, not the line you see ordinarily. Is he going to try and switch it back? Raccoons goes deep. Gabriel can't quite get the exit, using a little bit of ERS to pull alongside. Round the outside, it's not the optimal line for turn 6, and he won't be able to complete that move, as there's raining. It is raining, Kyle. So if you're running a higher wing setup, you may well be thanking your lucky stars right now, because that is going to very much have an effect on this race. But not...
Yeah, that could...
Sorry, you go.
To go. I'll say that could well explain what we're seeing here, because obviously we aren't privy to the weather. They are. So that could well be why we were theorizing why some people were running such high wings, like people like Gabriel. And I think we've now understood exactly why they've done that. And if Kyle doesn't get past now, which he's trying to do, looks like he's going to do it, that could be detrimental later on.
Yeah, and it's raining in a similar fashion to what it did in qualifying. As down the inside goes Regan. That's a very late move. The stewards might have something to say about that one, but Regan is going to give that place back and drop well out of DRS. So
Kyle's giving it back.
Oh.
I think they've both been... I don't know why. That was clearly Regan clearly drove into the side of him. I don't understand what happened there, but Regan also came across him and slowed down. Obviously tried to say, no, you sir, like, you're the person who needs to have the position, but then obviously had to just go for it because Kyle was basically stopped on the track, letting him pass. So no idea what happened there. Very confusing. Kyle obviously felt like he was to blame for some reason. So yeah, very odd, very confusing for them there. But it may well be very difficult now. Kyle on low wings, he may be, and no DRS, may be very difficult to overtake later on in the race. Well, as Regan misses the pit entry and just got it back.
It would have been disastrous if he missed the pit entry. Because
he went wide.
I'm on board with Chenky now, right? Look at the puddles on the floor.
Yeah.
That has got soaking so quickly. That is crazy, because you don't usually see it get this wet this quickly on F125. But we've had 2 sessions in a row that have chucked it down and got wet within a minute and a half, which is just unbelievable. I think if you stay out here, which I hope nobody is going to, then your race is over, which it doesn't look like anybody has. As Regan...
Entop's the last person to come in.
Yeah, Entop now into the pit lane, as now that does make you wonder, what is going to happen for K. Catterson in this race? We said he is probably running lower wings than the rest of the field. Is that going to have an effect on those exits that we saw? I mean, if he was running lower wings, then his exits were absolutely incredible for a low wing setup. He just got such good drive off the corners.
Yeah, as you say, he needed to get maximize those exits that actually benefit from having the lower wings. Otherwise, you don't get the good exit. No point even having lower wings, so you're never going to catch anyone anyway. But he is just he almost went straight into the back of Joe there. Joe, of course, being the big winner from that confusion between Kyle and Regan. But now he's losing that position again as Kyle comes flying past.
Yeah, up to 6th place now. The RB starting to claw back some of that progress that he lost due to that incident with Regan a few minutes ago. But now he's 1.2 off the back of the Ferrari. And Crancy, in all of that chaos, by the way, has made it up to 4th place. So a decent performance from him. But that is because he came in a lap before most of the field. So he's managed to undercut most of the field on those inters. That shows you how wet it got that quickly.
It's crazy how quickly that got wet. You don't usually find that people undercut in the intermediate conditions because it's usually quite hard to judge, and usually you take the DRS disable as your sign to go in, and most of it all stop at the same time. So Crancy really, I think we call that the GB strat. Followers of Creator Series would have seen GB68 pull that exact move off and then do the exact same thing going back onto the dry. It's just, he was so far down that he just went, let's just go for it. And ended up, I don't know if he won, but he got a really good result out of it. So going for the GB strat there, Crancy, but can Crancy hold on to it?
Yeah, by the way, Chenky now has a full pit stop over the entire grid as K-Catson and co pick up track limit penalty. There was more than one person there that picked up a track limit penalty. The other was Regan getting a 6-second penalty. Joe also on a 6-second penalty. Then Kev, Shadow Tobes, and Entok. Entok has 12, and then the prior two have 6, and Crancy with just the 3. Everyone else penalty free at the moment. There's now Catterson going for it on Regan again. These two, of course, history earlier in the race, and then there's more contact at turn 3. This time, not quite as catastrophic as the last piece of contact, and Regan will tuck in just behind. Is he going to go for a lunge down the inside? No. He chooses the sensible option and doesn't go for it. But now K. Catterson, 1.3 back off of the Sauber of Crancy. And it doesn't look like this rain has harmed his progress at all.
Yeah, I'm not understanding what Regan's actually doing here. Like, I understand that we're in a race and you've got 11 laps left, but when somebody's coming past you that fast, clearly on really low wings, it's usually quicker for your race to just concede that position and just try and go with them, because you know you've got Joe in just behind, and then you've got Crancy, yeah, just ahead. You know, if you don't sacrifice your race, you could end up gaining more positions through that. So it's very odd to see why he seems to keep diving Kyle back into turn 3. But the good thing, one thing I will say, credit where it's due, he did brake a lot earlier this time than he did earlier on. So obviously learned from previous mistakes and didn't repeat that one.
Yeah, definitely. As we're going to move a little bit up the field, we're going to go to the battle which has fizzled out ever so slightly in the last few laps. Raccoons and Gabrielle held on to each other, I'd say probably for the entirety of the race, but in the last couple of laps, Raccoons has just had slightly better pace in this wet weather. But now, can Gabrielle bounce back and potentially get himself back in? Currently, it doesn't look like he can. He's slowly but surely falling behind the Sauber at the moment. And I mean, well, Raccoons has got decent pace in these wet conditions at the moment. A little bit brighter than his pace earlier in the session when it was dry. So it does make you wonder, have they got a slightly more wet weather oriented setup than the others?
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, I'm on board with K Catson at the moment, and I just clearly low setup, low wings, but yet just really holds on to it in the corners. It's amazing to watch. It is really quite something. But he's obviously hunting down the podium. But one thing to note here is that both Raccoons and Gabrielle don't have any penalties, so if they can keep that way to the end, it's very possible that even if Kyle catches him, he won't be able to gap him by quite enough.
Yeah, it's now K. Catson down the inside on Crancy, getting it done pretty nicely. Can Crancy get good traction on the exit? Yes, he does. He's going to be able to stay alongside, but with those higher wings, is K. Catson going to breeze past on the straight? Not particularly. Down the inside, he will go on the Sauber. The Sauber will try and switch it back, but doesn't quite get the traction he needs, as Catterson will now deploy his ERS and will get the position there. So now he can deploy all of his remaining pace to go after Gabrielle in third place. Of course, 1.9 the gap, but with that 3-second penalty, K. Catterson needs to gain about 4.5 seconds, really. Sorry, 4 seconds now to take that third place. But with Gabrielle now gaining on Raccoons, is there potential? With 8 laps to go, he could get second place here, even with that penalty.
Yeah, I mean, what actually happened to Raccoons here? You were obviously talking about how he was gapping Gabrielle by 2 attempts a lap, and all of a sudden, Gabrielle got almost within a second there. So clearly found some pace, maybe getting used to the tyres, leaning on them a bit more. Sometimes I find this a lot when I race. Sometimes you think you've got less grip or sort of less mechanical grip or less tire grip than you actually do, and then you start to push a little bit more, and you go, oh, I can give it more. I can lean more into the corners. I can push more on the straights, and then suddenly you pick up a lot of pace. So could be a bit of that happening. Although Raccoons has pulled out 2 attempts again, so them two, I don't know who's going to come out on top of them two. But what I will say is that K Catterson is under a second now to Gabriel. So can he come past them both and build a 3-second delta in what we're looking at 8 laps? It's going to be a tough one.
It'll be tough, but with the kind of pace that K Catterson has in this race, I don't think you can discredit it as a possibility, because it very well is within the realm of possibility at the moment, as ONCFC sat behind MUFC Joe at the moment. And I mean, with 9 seconds of penalties to his name alongside the Ferrari of Regan, ONCFC could be on goal here for a pretty decent result. Actually, he could get 6th place, maybe even 5th, if he can gain a few extra attempts, a second and a half or so, on Crancy ahead of him. There's not all that much separating the two of them at the moment, so he could be on for a top 5 finish here, purely through keeping it clean. As now there goes K Catterson for the podium position on Gabriel down the inside in turn 3. Gabriel's going to try and keep it alongside for turn 4, and with way better straight line speed. That's the first time we have seen K Catterson get beaten on a straight, potentially due to some ERS levels maybe.
Yeah, quite surprising there, actually. That was pretty good from Gabriel, although he's coming back at him now. Looks like he might have it into the corner. It's a very, very tight one. But no, not quite. I mean, I've got to say, that he's had some really good battles. So this battle here with Gabriel and the battle he had with Crancy as well, they were both doing just enough to not crash. It was just on the very edge, and it's great to see such precision driving from them, and actually quite fair driving as well. I mean, you know, given that it was a little bit more bargy, shall we say, with Regang, he'd be very happy that the next 2 positions were a bit cleaner. But yeah, he's now got past Gabriel, and he's now hunting down Raccoons very, very quickly. But as you say, going back to ONCFC, MUFC Joe now has 12 seconds of penalty, so that's very much nailed on. But if he wants to get Crancy's position, he will need to take MUFC Joe and Regang on track to get within that 3 seconds, because right now Regang is slower than Crancy, and that will mean that we'll not be able to get to close the gap into Crancy, unless Crancy gets another 3-second penalty, of course.
Yeah, and by the way, K Catterson's pace so far this lap has been half a second faster than Raccoon. Slight wobble there coming out of turn 4, but now we're going to move on to our race leader, because, well, we've literally not, we barely see him at the moment. He's been barely featured so far in this race, just because he's so far ahead. 24 seconds is not an insignificant amount. It's a very, very big amount, of course. The biggest winning distance so far this season is 31 seconds. In real life, this is, of course, that is Lando Norris at Mexico last time out. And I mean, Andrea Chenkovan at the moment, very, very close to matching that, which is, well, his pace has just been absolutely unbeatable today.
Well, I was about to tell you that Chenky has 2 warnings at the moment, so very much potentially on for a penalty. But then I thought to myself, does it matter? Like, no. Chenky could cut every single corner for the rest of this race and probably still not get caught by Raccoons. So, yeah, absolutely dominant pace. I mean, he might even just, pit for the Bants. Like, why not? There's no fastest. Oh, there is a fastest lap point in this league. I do apologise. So, who has that fastest lap at the moment?
It's
I was in the dry though, wasn't it? So
in the dry, so that won't be.
Yeah. So yeah, there's no reason to stop now, but when you've got that kind of advantage, maybe do a safety stop. Make sure the tyres don't explode towards the end. I mean, I don't know what the tyre life's looking like. I might try and jump on board in a minute and see if I can see that on the steering wheel, but. Yeah, it's fantastic pace, and it looks like your prediction's looking very strong. But I really feel like K Catterson, Kyle, would have absolutely dominated this, I think, if he didn't do that spin. But he got no one to blame but himself. He spun all on his own, wasn't hit. So he'll be hitting himself. He could have been, 2 wins in a row. But yeah, he's obviously looking to capitalise on the damage limitation, which he's currently doing. So he's just got over 3 seconds on Gabriel. So we need to get past Raccoons very soon, which he's not going to do if he gets exits like that. And then gap Raccoons by 3 seconds as well.
Yeah, as now coming towards the turn 3 braking zone. Is Carl going to go for it? No, I don't believe he was. I did a bit of a Sky F1 there and accidentally clicked away in the heat of a battle. But he's not quite going to get the exit either. Big slide out of that corner there, so won't be able to get alongside. But remember, we still have his favourite overtaking spot coming up into what I believe is turn 9, the second to last corner of the lap. He deploys the ERS there and catches people off guard. We've seen it multiple times so far in this race, and he could well do it again to the likes of Raccoons, who he is now absolutely crawling over the back of. A tenth and a half separating the two at the moment. As now here he comes. Is he going to do it again? He's gaining. Is he going to get close enough? He's going to go for it. Raccoons moves ever so slightly, but Kay Catterson has to stay behind there. It would have been too risky to go for it on a scenario like that, but Raccoons gets a poor exit out of the final corner, turn 10, and now into turn 1. Can Kay Catterson get alongside? Not quite. We'll stay on board with this battle because things are really beginning to heat up, and Raccoons, if he wants second place in this race, needs to stay ahead of the RB.
He needs to work out what's going on out of turn 1, but for some reason all of a sudden he's starting to lose the rear end every single time. And he also needs to be very careful here going into turn 3 because he's got a warning for cutting that when he was fighting Gabriel. I didn't get to mention it at the time, but yeah, when he was fighting Gabriel, he kind of cut it to try and get the position and got a warning. So 2 more warnings for jumping that curb, and that would be this done. But one thing I will say, all this battling is bringing Gabriel back into that penalty window. So he needs to do this soon, very soon. And he looks very, very fast through this sector, but can he find a way past?
Yeah, very well could do. And now we're going to move it down a little bit. We're going to go to ONCFC and MUFC Joe. I'm not sure if that was what you were talking about. I was fiddling with my microphone. Once again, that's why I didn't really respond to what you were saying. Microphone issues are a bit of a staple of my commentary.
Isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much at this point. I do always end up having microphone issues because I think it's the headphones I use. They sometimes, if I knock the wire wrong.
Oh, is that it again? He's gone for a spin.
Oh, and he's in the wall. He's in the wall.
I told you, he literally, for some reason, he can't seem to get out of turn 1 in the wet. He looks like he puts his battery's still on, by the way. He's in overtake mode. It looks like he puts his battery on far too early and then loses the rear end. And this time it was just one step too far. He got a little bit too much. He's still got the battery on. I don't think he's realised, and now he's realised. But yeah, for the last few laps, for some reason, he can't get the exit out of that corner. Now he's got a broken front wing, which is affecting his stopping into the corners as well. So he's just hoping to hold on to some sort of position here. He's currently 2.3 ahead of Kev. And Kev has a 6 seconds worth of penalty. So I think he would be happy to keep this position because I think that's the best he's going to get. I mean, 10 seconds to ONCFC, but he's struggling into every corner. So he may well need to pit stop. And one thing I will say, Regang, I mean, we're towards the end of the... he's gone wide. Yeah, I think Carl's race is done here. But Regang is not far off disqualification, although 3 laps left to go. He may well get away with it.
Yeah, I think Regan has had a 10-second penalty plus a 12 seconds of track limit penalties. The disqualification threshold, as we discovered at Austria here last time with Orion, is 27 seconds. The driver closest to that at the moment is Entog on 21. Because
hey, it's Regang on 22.
No, 10-second pens don't count towards that threshold for some reason.
I was unaware of that.
You can get the max amount of penalties I've ever got purely for getting 10 seconds was 55. So you can get multiple 10 seconds, but as Kay Catterson now does retire, but the threshold for 3-second penalties only is about 27 from what we learnt from Orion last time, and it was similar for Mo the last time. Fun fact about WRL and Austria, right? This will be the first time in WRL history at Austria someone hasn't got disqualified. Because Mo got disqualified in Season 1, and in Season 2, Orion was disqualified.
Kay Catterson's currently in the middle of the fast lane in the pit lane. You can't go on board. I was already on board, so I got to see that. So I don't really know what happened there. It feels odd that he retired when you consider that he was miles ahead of Entok. But basically, he went into the pit lane, he slowed down for the pit entry line and then stopped. And it looked like he had to accelerate again for the AI to pick him up. It was very weird. And then he came out of his pit box and it just stopped in the fast lane. So very odd. I don't know. I wonder if that. I'm assuming the DNF was on purpose, but I don't know why. And if it was, why was it done in such a weird way? I've never seen the game do that before, so I'm questioning whether he actually didn't mean to retire. But that would be very unfortunate if that is the case. So one thing I will say, and I know you said it doesn't all count. Regang is now 25 seconds worth of penalties, but on the
Sorry to
final
cut
lap.
you off. Andrea Chenkov going to win the Austrian Grand Prix. What a race from him there. 25 seconds, wins it in a different area code to anybody else. The next car closest will be Raccoons, who's not even in the penultimate corner yet, just entering. And now to the final corner. What a dominant performance from the Ferrari to finish that far ahead of anybody else. So it'll be the Sauber second, crashes across the line. Third will be Gabriel. Fourth will be Crancy. Fifth will be Joe provisionally. But I believe Owen CFC is actually disconnected, by the way, yet. But his AI is going to pick up... Oh, he's ran out of fuel, sorry. He ran out of fuel. But he will pick up 5th place on penalties. Joe in 5th in the end. Kev comes home 7th. So Joe 6th. Kev 7th. Tobes 8th. Regan 9th. And then 10th was Entoct, who was lapped. So that is the end of the race there. And a very interesting race that for the final couple of laps sort of died out, but we were made up for it with a fantastic race all the way throughout. And here is your podium for round 2, dominated by Andrea Chenkovan.
Yeah, what absolute domination. I mean, if you were a betting man, you put some money on that, you could have won big. But, I mean, the odds, to be fair, wouldn't have been great. But, yeah, look, he shows us time and time again why he has won so many championships across all various leagues. And, you know, he didn't do that many races here last season, which was a shame. So hopefully we see a lot more of Chenky here because he's got the pace to be the winner of this season. So unfortunate for Kyle Catterson. He'd be very disappointed with that. But as I say, both spins were of his own doing. So he won't better blame anyone else but himself. But yeah, you know, that was very interesting. The rain really made a difference. I'm very much happy that happened because that really threw a spanner in the works as you can run through the results.
Yeah, one last recap of the results. Chenky first, Raccoons second, Gabriel third, Crancy fourth, Owen CFC fifth, Joe sixth, Kev seventh, then it was Tobes 8th, Regan 9th, Entok 10th, and then we lost K. Catterson. A couple of laps before the end, picks up fastest lap though, and then Rob as well. So that is the results there. So, Kyle, what were your thoughts on that race then overall?
Well, I just had a quick flick of the race director there and a lot of warnings and penalties. So, but that was very exciting. I'm very glad that I've come back for this one. Yeah, you know, I'd love to be here to watch these week in, week out, but unfortunately, Saturdays aren't always great for me. But yeah, oh, it's fantastic, wasn't it? Chenky absolutely dominated. I've never seen so much domination in league racing. Regang got a lot of penalties, had a few little incidents, but you know, it's a shame for Regang. I think in the middle of the race, you know, in the middle stint, he looked like he was the fastest. He looked like he was going to be not the fastest, obviously not including Chenky. Let's ignore Chenky and pretend he's not here. But yeah, he looked like he was the fastest of the rest, best of the rest, and probably looks to pick up a podium. So he'll be very disappointed about that. But yeah, you know, Raccoons looks very strong. Carl Catterson again, like looked good if it wasn't for the spins. And Gabriel, I think it was a well-deserved podium. There was a point where it looked like they actually Raccoons and Gabriel might not get it, but they fought hard to be there, and they very well deserved to be there.
Yeah, so then next week we head to Mexico for a very, very interesting race. I believe we've had WRL at Mexico once, which was won by someone who is no longer in the league. But what a race it was. I remember it. I was racing in it and it was a great race. So join us for that next week. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have driver interviews tonight because my OBS has been playing up the entire stream. So I've not been able to set it up, but we will have it for next week. So thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for joining me tonight, Kyle, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Right, thanks for having me.